You're watching MIA, where we go behind the brand to see how successful women manage it all with actionable tips and tricks you can use to create the brand you want and the balance you crave. All right, today on MIA, we are here talking to Elyzabeth Pham, and she is a model agency director and real estate investor. And I know those two don't go together. We wouldn't normally get those two together, but Elyzabeth Pham is going to tell us how she does that and how the two came together. So thank you so much for coming on, Elyzabeth. And tell me, how do those two even get together? How did that
First of all,
start?
Ashley, I want to thank you so much for having me on your show. Really excited and pumped because you're one of the mom entrepreneurs that I really admire out there.
Oh my God.
If I can even hold a small little candle to you, I would be just very pleased.
Wow.
So
I'm going to say I paid you. I'm going to say I paid you. Thank you.
Yeah, I know. Free endorsement. No charge. But it's true. It's true. I very much admire you and your hard work and dedication, which is why we're all here today. It takes a lot of work. It takes a village to get to raise a child, but to raise a person to become a mom and an entrepreneur. It's three people in one, and that's why I have the three careers. I'm a mom, I run my own business, and the real estate investment, honestly, I'm not a Donald Trumpet Jr. I don't have skyscrapers out there. I basically, it's a live and learn kind of thing, which is how I found my way to my job. It's just after college, you put some money aside, you get very lucky, you might buy your first little condo, you outgrow it when you marry the man of your dreams or woman, whatever. And then you outgrow that, and then instead of selling it, I turned around and rented it to someone, learned about landlording the hard way, and then I bought another place with the man of my dreams, my husband now, but we weren't married back then, and I don't recommend you buy a home with someone you're not legally married to, but that's okay. It worked out for us. We bought another place, and then another place after that we then had our first child in. Then we had our second child, and then we outgrew that one. And with every job change, with every geographical change, when we moved out of each home, and instead of selling them, we always were very lucky and bought them at a good time, or left them at a bad time and didn't have a choice but to rent. So now I've acquired several properties that way. And I've finally gotten to a comfort level and a wisdom level where I'm good enough at property investment that I'm able to fund my own property investments. I no longer use mortgages. I mortgage my own, and I manage my own. So that's how that happened.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about your modeling agency too. Tell us the name and how it got started. And then after we talk about that, I want to back up and I really want to talk about what your life looked like before you had kids. So tell us about that modeling agency.
The modeling agency that I run, I'm the agency director of Pacific Models and Pacific-models.com, Facebook, /Pacific Models, the whole shebang. Also on Twitter. Anyway, Pacific Models started about 20 years ago, and there was only one model on roster, and you're looking at her. It was Elyzabeth Pham. It was my accountant saying, hey, listen, if you're going to do modeling jobs, you can't just stuff the money away in your bank account. You need to create a business entity. So I learned how to create a business. I had to go file a business license, the whole shebang. But really, for the first half decade, it was just me. Wow. And then I just segued into managing a team of models. So I would have a client, call it a beer manufacturer, and we would be like the beer girls, and they would pick me, and I would do the invoicing and all that. And I just learned my way into managing other models, and I went from 5 models to now I have over 600 models on my roster. Wow. And we book nationally on both coasts, everything in between, Miami, South America, Toronto, and overseas. We just did a booking in London. So yeah, I'm very excited. I made a lot of contacts over time.
Congratulations on that. That's great to be global like that. I mean, that's a pretty big deal, girl.
It's exciting, and it's an evolution. It doesn't happen overnight. It was something that I really wanted to do, and I wasn't sure that I would be a model manager, but I sure didn't know that I wanted to be in show business in some regard.
Right.
And your life of course, I'd like to be Nicole Kidman or Charlize Theron and get that kind of recognition and fame and fortune that doesn't happen for everyone. And at a certain point, I prioritize my marriage and my kids.
Sure.
And that's what made me buckle down and start working and start managing models instead of being one myself.
I love it. So when did you, okay, so we know that you had your modeling agency, and prior to that, tell us a little bit about what your life looked like, because you did start this modeling agency with just yourself prior to kids. So what was your life like when you were doing this?
My life was wonderful before kids. No, you know, I love my children and my life. My husband and I, our lives are enriched by our children now, but it's a whole different ball of wax, as you know.
Yes.
In fact, I was watching and admiring you.
Oh my God.
I had my first bun in the oven, and I'm watching you with your baby in a crib, and you know, and you're actually my role model as a mom.
Oh my gosh, please stop, Elizabeth.
It's true.
Oh
I couldn't. I don't do the program. Like, you would just take off at lunchtime. We're like, where are you going, Ashlee? What? The entree just came, and you're like, my daughter has to go down for a nap. It's 1.
Well, nap time is so sacred. It's like, this is the only time I'm going to have to do anything, so I have to do it. I mean, I was like, I got to go. It's great seeing you guys, but it's nap time. So, you know, you get a lot done. You actually have your kids home with you now, don't you?
I have one, and thanks to the public school system that we pay our taxes to, the other one goes there. So, yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It's a hard balance. But anyway, going back to the life before kids, that wonderful life that I remember. I actually am a college graduate. Models do have brains. I tried to segue into acting, and I got pretty good at commercial acting. But then when I had to read lines and open my mouth, that's kind of where the acting career kind of ended for me. No one really liked hearing me speak. So I do have things to say. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in front of a camera.
It can't be scripted. Exactly. It's not scripted. This is why we get the fun Elyzabeth Pham here without being scripted. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm just way more fun on the fly.
Yeah. But, you know, what's interesting is before, you know, Elyzabeth and I are really good friends, and before you had your kids, I would see you just flying to Las Vegas, and you'd be flying here and going there, and I've got a job, I've got a gig. Oh, no, I'm going to be doing this thing for Samsung. I mean, it was kind of a fabulous life. And here I was, probably the only one in our group that had a kid at the time. And, you know, it was just so fun to see you living, you know, and doing what you wanted to do. And the one thing I wanted to bring up, and why I was so excited to talk to you, is that even when Lee got pregnant, I'm calling you Lee, and I'm sorry. That's what I refer to her as.
You're in the know, you call me Lee.
That's right. But you know, you would even when you got pregnant, you were still going out and doing your modeling shoot. She was still wearing her heels. She was still fabulous, still always looking great. And so, I mean, you just basically transitioned on your own to this. You were doing the managing thing, right, at that time, and you still were pregnant and having a baby.
You just have to. If anyone takes anything out of this interview, I don't want to talk about modeling and pretty people. Sure. I mean, not everyone can relate to that. So basically, my job is I tell people I have a temp agency, an employment agency. It just happens to be for really, really good-looking people, and sometimes they're not really good-looking. Maybe they just fit a certain niche.
Oh my gosh.
Because I don't even know if I can use names, but Disney has hired me to book the Arthur Christmas. You know animated series, the Arthur Christmas premiere, and they didn't want to hire little people. They wanted just short human beings.
Okay. That's interesting.
So I had to get creative, and I casted short people under 5 feet tall, men and women, and there are some out there who are actors, whatever. And so basically I just run a temp agency, you know, just for good looking people, and I place them in jobs, and they're just temp jobs for hours, couple days here and there, and it's not that hard. So you know, I just I'm kind of a middleman. I couldn't put 2 people together, and
Absolutely,
when I was pregnant, I had some really good clients, Calvin Klein, DKNY, Kenneth Cole.
Yeah.
And, just when you build business relationships with people, they realize that, you're a hard worker, you do a good job. Maybe I'm not the prettiest model, the tallest or the skinniest, but I understand the value of hard work, and,
Absolutely.
I appreciate what I make. And so the diva routine really doesn't work for a lot of us.
Yeah, it's a little hard when you get pregnant to keep being a diva, but some of us can pull it off,
Well, when I got pregnant, instead of telling my clients that I was pregnant, they would call and say, "Hey, can you do the bridal show this year in Chicago?" And of course, I'm 5.5 months pregnant. There's no hiding that behind any kind of wedding dress.
All that material still can't hide it.
Too. And I had to say, and psychologically, I don't want them to think I'm huge. So instead of telling them I'm pregnant, I said, "Hey, I'm not available. I'm booked for something else. But can I book Ashlee, who is exactly my height, size 2. She would look great, and she fits your fit parameters or whatever."
Right.
To travel and available to work these days. And they would say, "Absolutely, thank you." And that's how I, segued into my job.
I love it. Well, what are some of the challenges that you've dealt with as an entrepreneur and with having kids? I mean, what are some of the things that you've had to
besides the typical things, scheduling and prioritizing, like you were saying, you prioritize your children's nap.
Yes,
their routine was, for you, that was the holy grail. You do not touch that. You always stick with it. I was more like, I have a schedule that I have to abide by. Like if I have a client in Japan, well, I have to wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning and get emails from them telling me what they wanted in a model for a certain photo shoot and what wardrobe they wanted. And so I would get their demands and then go back to bed and check on my baby, or like nurse her at 4 in the morning. And then when I'd go back to bed till 6 in the morning and then wake up and get my emails from New York, get those instructions, and then send out emails to the models that I need to acquire there for the photo shoot, then go back to sleep, and then wake up at 8 and then see what everyone had responded from New York, because half the day is over there.
Yeah, exactly.
And deal with my West Coast stuff. And then somehow I'd blink and it would be 3, 4 in the afternoon. I'd have to pick up my firstborn from elementary school, and she always wants to see mommy and not a babysitter pick her up. So mommy's right there on my iPhone working like a mad dog. And then I have to get dinner on the table. So
that's right.
I do exactly what every other mom does, and then I just make sure that my kids are safe and, cared for by, not just cared for, but they're in an enriching environment, that they're just not sitting around watching TV or iPadding all day.
Right.
Like really need to have stimulation, be with other kids, using their dexterity and mobility, because their development is my responsibility. So I help my career develop, I help my business develop, and so does Tania. Say hi, Tania. Hi. Well, so as I'm talking to you in this interview, we're running this agency at the same time.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you so much too. That was, I think you're great. So I appreciate you, letting me interrupt your day. So that's one thing. I do have a couple more questions for you.
Yeah.
So what would you say is your biggest piece of advice for other women who are considering starting a business and they have kids? What are some of the tools that you use, and some pieces of nuggets of advice that you would give?
Okay, let me go with to finish answering your last series of questions. Is one of the challenges, the hardest part of owning your own business, and don't let me make this sound glamorous or beautiful. I happen to be in a beautiful and glamorous industry, but by no means is the business part beautiful. It's ugly. We hire, we fire, we give bad news. We have credit collections where clients don't pay.
God.
We have some very stressful days. We have models that don't show up, clients barking orders, other people, like 6 chefs in the kitchen, and it's crazy. I can't impart to you. Business equals tough. If your job wasn't hard, it would be called a vacation.
That's true.
My advice to women going into business is find something that you like. Find something that you enjoy so you don't feel like it's work. Yeah. If you like doing gardening, then pick landscaping or floral arranging or something where you it's a
You don't
creative
mind
outlet
coming
for
to
you.
work every day. Yeah.
Yeah, where you're
Yeah.
fulfilled, kind of like
Right.
what you're doing. You are a people person. We've known this since day one.
I'm just figuring that out now too. Like, I mean, really, that this is my passion. So I totally understand what you're saying, and this is great advice.
Go with your passion. I
Yeah.
mean, if you are a people person, stick with that. If you're not a people person, do something that is web-based, app-based.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Elance is everywhere now. Everyone is profiting, and in fact, I am a freelancer. I just happen to have a company that I've built out of my particular niche. But anyway, I just want you to know that business is not beautiful. It is not glamorous. It's hard work. You got to pound the pavement, and you have to be very creative in financing. You're not always going to make that money. You're going to have a backup plan. I call it, the old money bags. My husband, he puts a roof over our heads and he pays the bills.
That's right.
And that's important. So whatever I generate, I'm able to put back and reinvest into my business, build that up, and then it took many years before I even broke even. And, by the IRS standards, Better Business Bureau, every business either folds in 2.5 years or turns around. I was lucky enough to have it turn around, but there are a lot of times when I just wanted to throw in the towel. I'm like, I'll just bake muffins and be a mommy. How hard is that? It's not hard, because us women are created to have children and moms. Yeah. We can do that in our sleep. Now, creating a business, a flourishing business, that takes dedication and grit. It is not pretty, but stick with it and pick something you like, and don't give up. Just don't give up.
Well, Lee, oh my gosh, I have had so much fun, and no one else is allowed to call her Lee except me, and I keep saying it because that's how I know you. So, Elyzabeth Pham, you are officially deemed MIA, and I really appreciate you coming on and talking to me today. I love you too. And I love what you're imparting to these women. There are lots of women out there who, just want to hear from someone that's doing the same thing, whether they are building a multi-million-dollar company or they're just starting out. We can all learn from each other. So
yeah, well, like you, Ashlee, you have your master's degree. I have a undergraduate degree. I have a real estate license, which I used to buy and sell my own properties. But honestly, I use those degrees to, what do? They're just in pretty frames, honestly. But I really appreciated the years that I was in college, and I really think that I developed socially, and a lot of things I've taken into my life and my business. I learned in college, but it wasn't in a classroom.
Absolutely.
I didn't use the academic part of it, not like, our husbands would in their professional lives, but what's important to me was what I took out of that experience. I absolutely recommend high school, college, graduate learning for everybody. But take it with a grain of salt and use it for what you need in your future. So don't take education for granted. Definitely follow through on it. And always, you can never stop learning.
No, absolutely not. And as you said, you're learning all the time. In everything you do, every day you're learning something new in your business. And so thank you again, and
thanks for having me.